Hi everybody, welcome again to Scan Pro Audio, to the second of our Saturday morning webcasts. This time we've got Luke from KORG with a keyboard that at the NAMM show in January was causing all sorts of ructions, and it's a very powerful beast indeed. No better man to talk you through the mighty KingKORG than Luke. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Steve. Okay, so the KingKORG. It's our brand new analog modelling synth. It's called the KingKORG because we think it's the best analog modelling synth we've ever made. And the reason for that is several reasons. First of all, we have loads of different waveforms in there, so we can create pretty much any genre of sound. We've modelled lots of different filters from our own, but also famous manufacturers as well. So you can model stuff like Moogs, Prophet 5s, our own MS-20, Roland TB-33, etc. in there. It's also got a valve in there, or a tube, a full analog tube, so that really helps with the sound quality and it warms it up nicely. And of course, connectivity-wise, we can appeal to anyone, whether you're into your analog gear or whether you're a computer musician, because we've got CV and gate for our analog junkies, but also USB and regular MIDI as well. So it'll basically connect to any piece of musical equipment out there. Okay, so let's just have a listen first, and then I'll take you through all the different features and give you a tour of the panel. Okay, so KingKORG is analog modelling synth, so I'll just talk you through the various different sections. What's great about it is that it's very easy to use. It's very accessible, but very powerful at the same time. So in the middle here, we've got our main section for selecting sounds via categories. So if I want a bass, for example, I just press bass, go through the different sounds. If I want a lead, same thing. I can also store favourites as well. So once I press favourites, then these buttons here become my favourite settings, so they're great for when you're playing live or if you're in the studio and you need to select favourite sounds very quickly. And you've got 5 banks of those, A, B, C, D and E, so you've got 40 of those in total. You'll see me using my favourites quite a lot today because I've got all my favourites set up for this demo. Over to the right here, you then get into the oscillator section. Now this is where you can select different waveforms. So we have all of our regular waves, including saw, pulse waves, triangle waves, sine waves, and so on. And these are all analog type waves. But as I go through, you'll see then I come into some dual saw waves and so on, unison waves. And I've actually got different types of waves in here. So if I press this, I can go through to my DWGS waves, which are the digital waves. Press it again. I've got PCM waveforms in there, so we can recreate pianos, electric pianos. And if I press it again, I get into my mic input, so I can use it as a vocoder via this mic input, or I can feed any sort of audio source through it and use the amazing filters in the KingKORG. Talking of filters, let's move on to the filter section. So here we've got models of all different types of filters. KingKORG's own filter, which is a unique filter we've created based on our classic radius synth, but we've also got a Moog filter, a Prophet 5, an Oberheim, an MS-20, and an acid filter based on the Roland TB-303, and then we have high-pass filters of those and bandpass versions of all of them as well. So it's really possible to create completely different characteristics of sound by using these different filters. And if you use the KingKORG filter, it really has an identity of a sound of its own. Beyond that, we've got LFOs, so we can create motion to the sound by using those, and of course our envelopes, so the ADSR, the attack, decay, sustain, release of the sound, we can change with these knobs. Over on the left of the keyboard, we've got the whole effects section. So we have 3 blocks here, and we can select the effect with the dial, turn it on and off, and also the parameters per block. So we have 3 blocks, and these are the parameters for those. Further to the left, we have an overall EQ, which we can use, but most excitingly over here on the left, we have a full analog tube. So we can add a little bit of warmth and colour to the sound at a low level, or if we really drive it, we can make it sound very aggressive, and we even have a boost setting if you really want to go for it, and I'll show you that a little bit later. So I'll give you some examples of the different filters first of all, and what they sound like. So here's KingKORG's own filter, low-pass filter. We also have the classic Moog filter as well, and the cutoff and resonant settings are very easy to get to, so I can filter it very easily for this bass. One thing that's really cool are the filters and the smoothness of them as well. There's no aliasing, no artifacts. You can't hear anything at all stepping when you sweep the filter through. Another classic filter we've got in here is the Prophet 5. So you can hear they all have their kind of own distinct characteristics. And of course the Oberheim, which is a massive synth in the 80s, all over the charts. And of course, not to forget our classic MS-20, which we've just reissued actually with the MS-20 Mini, which is exactly the same as the original MS-20. In a slightly smaller form, plus it has MIDI and USB. This is what it sounds like. And of course, classic sort of mid to late 80s sound was that acid house sound, especially in the UK. So we've got the Roland TB303 filter in here as well.
Very nicely there, Luke.
Thank you.
You have actually fulfilled one of the chat room requests
Have I? Oh, that's
from
good.
Hiram. Well, almost. He asked, can we hear the filters scream a bit?
Well, yeah, that's what I was actually doing with the mod wheel there. You'll notice that depending on which sound I'm on, you can actually assign the mod wheel here to be different things. So that in that case, it was increasing the cutoff and the resonance. So you can really hear, if you want to take it even further.
Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
How's that?
I think request fulfilled there, so
Nice.
thank you very much.
Keep them coming. So, moving on. I'm going to show you the LFOs. So the LFO stands for low frequency oscillator, and the reason that's there is to add a little bit of motion to your sound. So if I just select this kind of quite basic sound, it's just a pad sound basically, really nice warm sound. Of course, I can manually change the filter in that case, but if I want to have something moving over time and evolving, I can use an LFO to do that and automate it for me. Like that sort of thing. You can also change the speed of that. What's cool about the LFOs as well is they can be synced via MIDI to an external piece of gear. So if you're using this in a computer setup, which obviously a lot of people do these days, just via USB, you can clock it to the tempo of the DAW that you're using, say it's Ableton or Logic or whatever it is, and then that LFO will play in time with your music at the rate that you specify. LFO is also great for other stuff, like, for instance, if you want to get into your dubstep stuff. A lot of people use LFOs for that, like this sort of stuff. you can see on the mod wheel there, I'm actually changing the speed of the LFO. So it could be in time again with your music, which would be ideal. Let's move on to a few of my other favourites. I'm now going to show you some of the effects. So I've got a sound here, and it's got some nice delay on it. And that delay is actually, again, tempo synced, so I can play in time with the song. And I can easily just turn on and off that effect just by pressing the knob there. So if I don't want any delay, or I haven't got any now, I want to bring it back in. And also just the depth of it. So if I want something a bit more subtle or full on, I can do that very easily.
I've got another request from the chat room, another question. Have you got the ability to modulate by aftertouch on it, especially on the pad setting that you had on a minute ago?
No, unfortunately there isn't actually aftertouch on here. So the only way to modulate things is either manually, via MIDI, or via this mod wheel here. So,
but you've got full MIDI control over the aftertouch features.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just haven't got physical aftertouch on this keyboard.
Okay,
so,
nice one. Cheers.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at another one of the effects. So I'm going to go over to the left here now onto the pre-effects. So I'm going to turn that round and select distortion. And then I can adjust the amount of drive here. So I can really get down and gritty with it if I want to. So I can get that really kind of crunchy, very aggressive sound out of this. That's what really strikes me with the KingKORG, is it's just its versatility as far as sounds. You can go from something like a really smooth pad like we had earlier, straight away then to something as gritty as that. That was using, of course, the tube. I've got the tube turned on. It's not turned up to the full at the moment, but for this next one, I'm going to show you just how grainy you can get. If I press boost, you can get this kind of sound, which you probably recognise. So the tube makes a tremendous difference. If I just turn it off for a minute, you can hear the difference. So turn it on, and then the boost as well. It really makes a tremendous difference to the either just to warm up the sound or to really drive it, like we did there. We've got over on the right an envelope. We've actually got two envelope destinations. So one is for the amplifier. So the amplifier section is where you specify the volume of the sound, but also what we call the attack, decay, sustain and release of the sound, or ADSR for short. And that's basically how the sound sounds when you play the key. So I'll give you an example of that first. So if I go back to my favourites again, here we've got this pad again, which is nice. So you can hear that's got a bit of a slow attack on it, and also a bit of a slow release, because when I take my hands off, it just continues a little bit. But I can change all those settings very easily just by changing these knobs. So if I want a quick attack, I can do that, and a quick release, say, so it will stop immediately. Let's brighten it up a bit. So I can have a slow attack and a quick release, or both. So it's that lush kind of wash of sound. I can take the decay and the sustain down, so I've got more of an immediate sound. So even that's using exactly the same sounds, it's just using a different envelope, which completely changes the dynamic of the sound. You can also assign this envelope, a different envelope, to the filter as well, which can really shape the way the sound changes over time when you play the keys. So, for instance, here we've got an envelope on the filter for this kind of song. So you can hear that when I play the key, the filter opens very quickly after I've played it. And I can adjust the time that takes. So I could have it opening slowly. all very quick as I did then. So all of these things are there. They're all readily available, very hands-on, lots of controls. You've also got two timbres, as we call them, A and B in the KingKORG. Now what the timbres are basically collections of 3 oscillators. So each timbre has 3 oscillators, which you can either stack on top of each other to make 6, or you can press split, and then split the keyboard, so you've got 1 timbre here and 1 timbre here. So I'll give you a couple of examples how you can use these different timbres. So what I've done actually on this one is the mod wheel, if I push it forward, that brings in the second timbre. So without doing that, I'm just hearing 1. If I push it forward now, bring in the second timbre. And actually, if I pull it backwards, because you've got 4 axes on this pitch bend mod wheel, I can introduce a filter and reverb as well. So having these timbres gives you a little bit more, just a bigger palette of sounds really, and a greater creativity. You can also use them in a different way, so you can split the keyboard in half. So I could have, say, a pad down the bottom and then maybe a lead sound on my right. So you can do that kind of thing where great for live as well, because then you can obviously have different sections of the keyboard for different sounds without having to have a second keyboard. Okay, so KingKORG also, of course, has an arpeggiator built in. So you can use it for simple stuff like this. You can see I'm filtering it there with the mod wheel as well. Or you can use it in different modes. So for instance, I could put it into a mode here called trigger. I've also split the keyboard. So the arpeggiator can be associated with timbre A, timbre B, or both. So in this case, it's just timbre B, which is on my right hand side here. Turn on the arpeggiator, and you've got this. So by trigger, what that means, it will just continuously play the notes. So whether it's a single note or whether it's more than one note at once. You can also program the arpeggiator. It has a step sequencer in there as well, eight steps. So I can be playing my pattern like this. So at the moment, that's playing every single step. But if I go into my menu here, just by pressing Shift Arpeggio. Shift is like a shortcut key for a lot of functions. I can go in, change the resolution, the gate time, the steps. I don't know if you can see the screen from there, but basically it's showing me 8 steps on the screen. I can go through and I can then take in and out some of those steps, so you get more of a kind of syncopated feel to it. I'll turn it on. So because some of the steps are missing, you've got a different feel. What's also nice is that arpeggiator pattern will be saved as part of that program as well. So everything's saved, including what oscillators you're using, the filters, the envelopes, the effects, and the arpeggiator setting as well. And you've got 300 programs in total. You've got 200 presets and 100 users. So you've got plenty of blank spaces to be getting on with to make your own sounds as well with the KingKORG. Let's move on. Okay, so mainly we've been listening to synthesizer-based sounds here, but we've also got what we call PCM-based sounds as well, which are basically samples. So we can play back pianos, electric pianos, clavs, strings, choirs, all that kind of thing. So it makes it usable for gigging just as a single keyboard if you want to. So I'll play you a few of those sample-based sounds. Piano first of all, dance sort of piano. You've also got organs as well, including our very famous M1 organ here, which is used on, again, lots of dance tracks. And we've also got some cracking mellotron samples in here, strings, and also flute. Check out this mellotron flute. You can really hear the tapes going around. And of course electric pianos as well. And what's nice is that we've mimicked the idea from our SV1 Stage Vintage piano with having these real-time controls of the effects. So for instance here I've got my 70s EPs, patch is called. I'm going to turn on the tube just to give it a little bit more bite. So which means when I really dig into the keys, it's going to break up a little bit. Or a bit too much in that case. Here we go. So if I lay back a bit, it's quite a smooth sound. If I go for it, I can get that real crunchy kind of Rhodes sound. Okay, so that's really what the KingKORG's all about. So it's our brand new analog modelling synth, very easy to use yet very powerful. We've got a tube inside to add warmth or really drive the sound. We can model all of the classic synths of today and yesterday with all the different filter modelling. And connection-wise, it's great. And actually, just before I finish, I've got via CV, I've got a monotribe connected here. I'm just going to turn it on. What that means is that I can connect any piece of analog gear via CV. Now CV it stands for control voltage, and it's basically the precursor of MIDI. So in the old days, instead of doing it digitally, it was done via an actual voltage control to connect other instruments together and actually play them.
Okay, I think what we're going to just do here is just move up the monotribe a bit.
That's fine,
so
yeah.
People
Can see it, yeah.
can see it. I
How's
think
that?
that should bring it into shot.
How's that?
That's lovely. That's
Yeah?
absolutely lovely.
Lovely.
Please carry on.
That's okay. There's not too much to see on it, to be honest, but all I'm going to do is just show you that I'm actually controlling the monotribe. So I've turned the volume down of the KingKORG, and now we should be hearing, yeah, the monotribe. So I'm going to play the notes on the KingKORG. So I'm now controlling here. And of course, what's nice about the monotribe is it's a fully analog piece of kit. So you are getting that completely pure analog sound. And what's nice is that via CV, it doesn't have to be a Korg piece of gear. It can be literally any piece of analog gear. Some of the classic analog synths of the past, you can connect, hook up, and then use via this technology. Plus, it's got USB as well. So if you want to really take it up to date and connect to your DAW, whether you're using Ableton, Logic, Cubase, whatever it is, PC or Mac, you can connect via USB and then integrate it very easily into your studio. There's also a free librarian piece of software that you can download to manage all of your different sounds as well on your computer. So that's what it's all about. So thanks for tuning in. Anyone else want to say anything else?
Yeah, we've got one more question
Yeah, go for it.
from the chat room. Does it have wavetable synthesis like the Wave Station used to?
It doesn't, no. It has digital waveforms that you can use as the oscillators.
Right.
But the as far as the wave station goes, that was a different kind of synthesis where you could add motion to the sound by using stepping and things. So no, it doesn't have that. It's a different type of synthesis.
Okay. The other thing that I do notice on it, it's actually got a mic input on the back.
It has. Yes.
What would you use that for?
Use that for, it has vocoder functions, so you can use it as a vocoder. So you can plug in a mic and then use it as you would do a vocoder. So you can play choir sounds by singing, or use it for that kind of talk box, robot type sounds as well.
Right, so the same sort of gist as the microKORG.
Exactly, yeah. Plus you can actually, if you run it through a mixer, so say I plugged in, I don't know, my mobile phone into this mixer and then out of the mixer into here, I could actually use that sound source as an oscillator as well. So I can then add filter effects and everything else to an audio source. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mic plugged straight in.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming down, Luke.
It's all right.
It's been great. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in for our inaugural webcast. Inaugurable? Is that even a word?
Inaugural,
No,
I
I'm
think
just
is the
making
word.
it up
Yeah.
this morning. Okay, thank you for everyone who has turned up on Scan Pro Audio. Obviously, if you have got any more questions, Luke will be available to have a chat to you in the chat room for the next 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, thank you very much, and we'll keep you posted on when we're going to do the next one. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks for
Cheers.
watching. Cheers.
Bye.